What is up, everybody? And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the techniques in the men's single scull from the world champs. A bit of a kind of race recap, I guess. The main character I would like to go over is the Greek sculler, the Olympic champ from Tokyo, Stefanos Gnatouskos. Apologies, I'm saying that wrong. I probably am. And I'll be saving his technique for last. I think it's the most kind of interesting one. But yeah, I just wanted to go over the form from everybody in the field roughly. Well, not everybody, but most people. Okay, so Zeidler, what does he do well? What does he not do well? He was coming into this event talking a lot about how he wasn't training that much. And I'm going to start on the offense today. I really don't like that attitude when people have that they come in with excuses. And I know, obviously, look, if you're focusing on something else, you're going to come into a race not prepared. But I just feel like, what does it matter? And the only real benefit to you doing that is you take away some of the achievement from some of your competitors. Maybe this context is slightly different with Zeidler, but I just remember in my race, when I was racing, there would always be 2-3 people, and they would do it every race. And if you beat them, they would come up to you and be like, "Hey, yeah, really good race, Jack. Oh, well done, mate. Well done. Oh, yeah, just training's not been going that well for me. Oh, I had a bit of an itchy throat before that. Oh, my cat's dog's aunt said that I had to come and help move house." Like, just coming up with all these things. And the only reason to do that is to make an excuse as to why you didn't beat them. And does that make a difference to your next race? All it does is satisfy your ego and make you feel, a little bit better about yourself, and take it away from the other person. And, without going into it too much, I just really think that racing should be about you going out and doing the best that you can with what you have on that day, and not about how you beat someone, and how if somebody beats you, there was a reason for it. So look, I know the guy, he gets questions all the time. How's training been going? The media's on him and stuff like that. I'm maybe being a bit unfair here with him, but I just wanted to use it as an example to highlight situations that annoy me when it comes to racing and just regattas and stuff like that. But anyways, I don't know why. It's a Monday morning. I'm full of beans. But back to the technique. So Zeidler, what I've always really liked about what he did was how loose he was in the... Oh shit, that's the wrong... I realized that you can do text typing when you're making these, doing this magic pen thing. I've been using it for my Instagram videos recently. Pen. He's always had a really nice loose face. And his shoulders have always, since the day he started, got on the international scene, he's always had really nice low shoulders here. And I think if you could take away one thing from Ollie, it's the expressions in his face. And if you're tense in your face, you'll be tense in your shoulders, you'll be tense everywhere else. Look, I think as well, generally his technique gets a lot of criticism, but he really does a lot of things well. His catch being one of the biggest things that he improved. I still think, he is coming in, he's driving, pushing before his spoon is locked into the water. But it's massively, massively improved. And part of what I think has helped that is how close he keeps his blade to the water. If you want one tip on the catch, so not before you've squared, but after you've squared, think about, just imagine, in your head, trying to visualize both those oars coming close to the water as you're sliding forward. So an improvement here. I still think he has a lot of room to go. It does look like he rows short. But I mean, seems to be kind of the new style the past 8 years to be quite short in the front here. But I've heard people make the argument that if he were to row longer, it would be too long. But I mean, just looking at that angle, looking at that separation here, this is him connected now. He still looks, that's still if it was me in the boat, I'm 6 foot-ish. That would maybe be me at sort of 3/4 slide. So I still think, he could get a little bit more. Anyways, so tension in the face is good. It does look like he takes a bit of load in the forearms. It looks like he tenses up quite a lot. That lift as well. Like the way that his hands go in, it looks quite aggressive. It doesn't look as smooth. It looks a bit kind of jerky. You can see even here, like the right arm straight, then it like bends and it kind of like re-jerks. Like it just, I've seen him be a lot smoother. And obviously, we know why. I know I just did that rant about excuses and stuff, but yeah. I thought that he looked shorter as well through the water. Like it didn't look like he was getting as much connection through the legs, as much time to apply force. Like I've seen him be able to push for longer and really get that send and that push through the legs. So one thing I just noticed with his technique, but I'm sure as he gets more reps and stuff in the boat that his form will come back. So we're at the mercy of the camera crew here with what footage we get. Saw this Lithuanian sculler. I thought they looked pretty good. Doing a lot of the things that I talk about. Well, I really liked their catch. I thought their catch was nice. They look relatively tall, so they don't get, too rocked over with the body. They look quite, sat up. Blades a little bit too close to the water, you could argue. I would say, have that blade a little bit higher so that you can place a little bit more directly. But still and loose going in, squaring the blade there. We get this is a good angle here of what we want to see. Now when the water, like a perfect catch is lifting the hand straight up. When you've got water flowing underneath you, you're always going to get a bit of backsplash. So looking for backsplash on the back of the spoon can be a sign that you've taken the catch well. But just looking at the sculler here, okay, this is him at full slide. That is him locked. That's pretty good. Like he is not losing very much length there, I would say. A part of why you also want to be patient at the catch is because as you lift on the way going forward, as you get that backsplash, you can kind of see it here, but you get a slight air pocket in front of the spoon, and you need to wait for that to fill. So you got to spend time waiting for that spoon to fill before you push. So just another thing I thought they were good at here. But yeah, really nice catch actually. Like full slide. If Ziedler did this, I think this guy, I reckon he's probably 6'6". I don't know. It's a total guess. But if Ziedler did this, you'd just be able to push for so much longer. But nice hang here. The rig in this boat looks strange. Like he looks rigged very high. Normally, you don't want, when you're driving, your hands to be in line with your shoulder socket. You maybe want it a little bit lower. But drive a good, strong leg drive here, keeps the bodies forward, but then really didn't add much through the back. And I guess, that's fine. You don't have to have acceleration all the way through the front. You need acceleration at some point in the stroke. Damier Martin was very back-end acceleration sculler. Who are some single sculler? I'm getting too warm. It's nearly October, so it's kind of that midpoint between being cold and being warm, so I had the heating on. And now, I was wearing my jumper before that, and now the heating's gotten warmer, so I need to take my jumper off. So Damier Martin was more back end focused. I'm trying to think of a sculler who was more front end. Sverre Nielsen, he was quite a front end sculler. This guy here, he doesn't look like he really adds much through the back, which is okay. If you generate a lot of acceleration here, you don't need to add as much on the back. But I prefer a nice even press out through the whole stroke, especially in the single. And he comes into quite an upright position there. It looks like, okay, we can't see because of the speed thingy in the way of what his finishes look like. But yeah, it looks pretty clean coming through. Elbows up. That's a good one as well. If you're struggling with balance, think about drawing both your elbows level and through as you come through the finish. And rather than trying to stabilize with your hands, think, I'm going to get my elbows level with each other as I come through the back. So just a little tip if you want it. Cool. So big shout out to this guy. Somebody actually DM'd me on Instagram about him. Said that he's 170 170 centimeters tall, which I think is. Don't you hate it when you Google centimeters and you try and get it in feet and inches, and it gives you like feet with a decimal place? So instead of it being like 6'6", it's like 6.5 feet. Okay. Yeah, 5 foot. Holy shit. So 170 centimeters is 5.5 feet. So 5'6". What? That is crazy. I need to do a video on this guy. I actually DM'd him and asked him to come on the Edge Rowing podcast. Bruno, if you're listening, please come on. If anybody wants to hear from this guy, let him know in the comments if he, in the off chance, watches this video. But let's see what he did. Well, not crazy, long on the front. Sometimes for a shorter sculler, you would rig it so you can get a bit more arc and your hands go out to a wider angle. I'd wonder what he was rigged at here, if he was on a more standard rig of like 160 centimeter, span from there to there. And then if his inboard was maybe 88 and then his outboard was or his whole oar length is 288. Could see that being the case because it does look like he doesn't get his hand, like he still looks like he's rowing long for his height, like he's compressed, his arms are outstretched, but he's not getting his hands kind of wide and getting the blades like more parallel to the boat rather than in line, which isn't the end of the world, but biomechanically there's a lot of evidence to say you should try and get a bit more wide. But yeah, he had a very, very like condensed punchy stroke, and what I thought he did well was, like, as soon as he was on, the legs were going down and he was moving the boat, and like it was in, and there was a lot of speed. So I would also like to know like what his 2K was, but I think where he's getting speed is literally from speed. Like he's being very quick to push the legs down, and it can be easy to get connection speed by just not being connected. Like if you're not connected, it's super easy to fire your legs down because you're not pushing off of anything. But here, it looks like there is, hold on, I can't find a better clip, so this will have to do. But yeah, nice catch. He's bending the arms here, so while that does make your elbow closer to your body, which makes your lats easier to use, it does shorten the stroke a little bit here, but just a lot of speed and acceleration, good relaxation in the face as well. None of the traps going up, and he actually pops the blade out. You'd expect a shorter sculler to really kind of come through this angle. So like, again, this position that he's in, it does look like he's rigged for somebody who is, 6 standard elite international, like 6'4" or something like that. Because again, he's short at the back. So Bruno, if you're watching, or anybody knows Bruno, tell me what you're rigged at. I want to know, and if so, like why you rigged like that. Because it's working for him. But yeah, he went up pretty hard, which was awesome to see, and then I think blew up in like the last 500. But awesome. All you ex-lightweights out there, you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot. You're proving that we never actually really needed lightweight rowing. I mean, this guy's 5'6". Like, that's relatively very short. That's for a rower. Anyways, who's next? Simon van Dorp. So, contrary to Ziedler, these are both big guys, big ergs. What I think Simon van Dorp does a lot better than Ziedler is, he's maybe a little bit longer at the front, but not too much longer. He has a big arm bend, so I'm not entirely against this. What it does do, brings your elbow closer to your torso, so your lat is shortened and more contracted, and it's easier to engage through your trunk. It obviously just shortens your stroke a little bit. But what Simon does is he waits more to get the spoon filled before he pushes. Like he's not driving back. He's driving back after Ollie Zeidler. Like Zeidler was like, oh, I'm here, and then bang, I'm going. Whereas Simon van Dorp, one thing I think he does better is his catches are just better timed. Like there's more patience to let the spoon go in. Okay, now I'm connected. Now I push. And it just means, especially these bigger scullers, strong scullers, you do not want to be kicking on the stern before your oar is locked into the water. Like you want to make sure that you don't do that. But yeah, nice. I mean, the catch I think is a big thing. I think his power is another thing. Not much else notable. Like drives the legs down nicely. Kind of more like a continuous sort of like drive. There's no like hammering of the leg. It's just a nice sort of like tappy, legs down, back open, legs down, back open. Yeah, a good shot here of the blade. Nice patience to let it fill and then drive. I don't like watching his technique though. It doesn't like I don't mean that personally, but I just don't think it's a good technical example. I think the arm bending, it's too much. It is too much for me. It's not wrong, but I just don't think it's textbook and it's not something that should be studied in my opinion. So here he is, the man of the hour, Stefanos Gnatouskos. Please come on my podcast. So like I just did an Instagram video on this guy, but it's kind of interesting the way that he like approaches the catch. It's kind of weird. And then we'll get to like what he does well. But like as soon as he's kind of like a lot of like sort of like extra kind of body movement going on. Like when he comes to the finish, chins up, and then he comes out. It's sort of like he like dips and like leads with his head to get everything forward, which isn't necessarily wrong, but kind of like when he does this rock over a bit, it's like he really exaggerates how much he rocks forward and leans forward, and he almost like leans forward too much, and then it starts to present itself as a dip. And why you do not want to dip with your chest as you slide forward is because when you go down with your chest, you go down with your hands. And at the catch, you want your blade to be going in that direction, not in that direction. And if you go down with your chest, you go down with your hands, you go up with the blade, and then your blade has more room to go. What you want, like if we think that this is the path of the blade here, you go up and then in. We don't want that. We want it maybe to just have a little bit of a higher height from the start, so you just go boom, straight in. So when you dip with your chest, it's one of the reasons that the blade goes up and you can miss the catch. You can get away with this. It's a lot harder to do. It takes a lot more reps. This is not the technique that we coach masters to do because you can get away with it, but you literally just need to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of K working on it to get the right lift while still dipping. Like think about it, like you're trying to lift your hands up while your chest is going down. So you have to lift your hands relative to your shoulder more. Just don't dip with your shoulder. So it looks like he gets, a lot of like lean forward here with the body. And then he gets compressed and it's kind of like you can see his blade still out of the water here. Out of the water here. I'm half Canadian, half Scottish. Like I always am torn between how to say water. Water is the Scottish one, and then water is the Canadian one. One of those things that goes on in my head. Oh shit. Cool. So if we look at his body angle, here, hold on. Here, so he's really rocked forward, and it's almost like he's like, you know what? This is too rocked forward for me. I need to correct it and sit up more. And then it's like in that position there, he's fine. So it's kind of like, why has he lunged forward so much? Why does he not just hold, this position here? As soon as he takes the catch, he gets out of that. So that's the second thing that I don't think he does well, is like he opens with the back and he gets into this position. So I'm like, why don't you just hold this angle instead of this one? Like when you rock forward, why don't you just stay in this kind of bolt upright position if you're just going to rock forward and then move out of it into the more upright one, if that illustration makes sense. And it's another point about rowing in general is you can control a lot of the things that you do on the drive by the way that you move on the recovery. And on the finish, if you why we like to teach people to be separated with their arms off of the finish is because it's a very controllable way. but our mind likes patterns. And if you're separated coming out of the finish here, when you drive and come back, your body will remember that pattern. It will like to have that separation of like arms being the only thing to draw through when you come through the finish. If you moved out of the finish with the arms being the only thing to move there. Other side of that, if you take the stroke here and you bring your bodies and arms forward bent together, when you drive back, you're going to be more likely to open your back and bend your arms as you do that. So using that as an example for when you get to the catch, if at the catch you lunge before you take the stroke, the first thing you're going to do when you come out of the lunge is you're going to open. So I think, again, this Nituskos is an example of that happening. Oh, shit, I nearly forgot to switch back. So I keep skipping. So, here, rocked forward, rock forward as far as you can, but especially masters rowers that are struggling with mobility, don't push it. Don't push an extreme rock over because you're going to risk injury, and you're also likely going to take the catch and be like, I don't like this position, get me out of it, like Natusko says here. So anyways, those are the only two things. Part of why you don't want to open with your back as well is it's going to, if you're lifting up with your shoulders, it's going to dig your hands in higher. It often results in blades going too deep. It's also not as strong of a push. The boat is the heaviest at the catch, so we want to pick it up with our strongest muscles, with our legs. I think a lot of rowers get taught that from day one. And opening that back, it can feel more, you can feel like you're doing more as well because you've got more nerves in your upper body, and you feel more of a sensation. It feels like you're doing more when you do that, but it's not the most effective way to push. So yeah, but then when he's here, this is where Natuskos shines. So firstly, so he times the catch so well. He's there, full slide, blades are going in. Perfect. He does that. He does do that lift partially with his body though. But again, the timing is so well. As soon as he's at the catch, bang, the blades are going in. There's no hanging around. He's just there and lift. So really nice, and there he's connected. Look at how long he is here. It's almost too long, you could say. And as soon as, so this is the timing. Look, the simplest thing you can the way we can put this is, as soon as Natuskos is at the catch, his blades are going towards the water. And the mistake masters rowers will make is they rush into the catch. Okay, I'm at full slide. Right, time to lift the hands. They delay, they hang around with their weight on the stern quite a lot, and then they draw the blade into the water rather than lifting it and backing it into the water. Nicely timed there. And then as soon as his blades loses very little length, the body opening is the kind of only length you could say he loses, but that seat sits still. And looking at the oar bend, really good sign of connection. Oar bend there, he has got so much of the stroke to go, and he's already created oar bend on the shaft. He's already gotten that grip and that acceleration in the front. He's already moving the boat. He's already pushing before so many people, most people here don't even have the blade in the water. They're still rowing the blade in. Whereas Natuskos, he's here, he's connected. And then from there, you can just really hammer the legs. I think he's more of a leg dominated, single sculler. Legs, and then he comes through the back and he holds it, but there's not too much of an acceleration. He's just kind of holding it nicely there. And back opening, nice back opening there. Quite good posture as he opens. And then the arm draw just comes through nice and level and nice and clean with the blades. He doesn't really hold on to it too much with the arms. He kind of drops it a little bit. And, the bow does go quite deep. I think if he held the finish through with the arms a bit better, that he wouldn't have, look at that water line on the hull. It gets really close to that top line of the end packer. And, he's not a massive sculler either. but like, you know, there, like, look how much the boat lifts out of the water. So suspended power, like that boat is so suspended through there. Nice one. Okay, that's all, folks. If you liked the video, subscribe and like the video, and yeah, all the best.